Well, hello everybody. Bug64 here again, and you're looking at what we're going to fly today. Yep, an old bird just like the old man sitting here. We're going to be flying the OV-10A Bronco. This was developed by for the sim by Split Air, and I'm going to destroy this next name, but they're of Dikenek, Dikennek. Anyway, it's a freeware airplane for DCS. Now, you can get it freeware, but these people have done a really wonderful job so far. This is only version 1, so it's in early development. A lot of the switches and buttons do work, but not all of them. But let's give these people, this group, some love, and feel free to do that when you do the download, which I will give you locations where it can be downloaded, and also some other information. Now let's see a little bit about this North American Rockwell OV-10 Bronco. The North American Rockwell OV-10 Bronco is an American twin turboprop aircraft. It was designed for light attack and observation. It was developed in the 1960s as a special aircraft for counterinsurgency combat, or what we call COIN. And one of the primary missions was as a forward air control, or FAC aircraft. It can carry up to 3,200 pounds, or 1,450 kilograms of external munitions, and that's rockets and bombs. And internal loads such as paratroopers. It actually had the ability to carry paratroopers or stretchers, and can loiter over a combat area for 3 hours or more, all depending upon its load and its fuel. So, really good airplane. Basically, it's equipped with 2 Garrett T-76G 421 turboprop engines, which is over 1,000 horsepower, and each of those engines, those turboprop engines, is equipped with a 3-bladed Hamilton Standard 8-foot 6-inch or 2.59 meter diameter constant speed fully feathering propellers. So, little history, little information there. So let's go ahead and get in the aircraft and see how things go. This is my first ever startup and flight of this aircraft, and we're going to check it out a little bit. I've made a mission. We'll see how it all goes. So catch you inside the aircraft. Let's go have some fun. All right, here we are. Get this mission started. Bit of a chaos mission. Very first time ever flying this wonderful airplane developed by Split Air of Dikenek. Sorry if I really messed that up, which I know I did. But anyway, here we are in the cockpit of it. And as you can see, I'm using my Track IR sensor, but I am using the R&J Simtech wireless unit that attaches to my headphones. And I got to tell you, it is so much better than my Track IR Pro Clip. This thing is awesome, and I'll put a location where you can find this unit. It's just really well made. I haven't been able. It's got a long battery life, 15 to 20 hours, and I have never been able to break lock with it turning my head. So I'm really happy with this, and it works extremely well. So, and I use it when I want to make content for YouTube and so on, because it's so much easier to use than trying to make a decent video in VR. Okay. With my limited funds and editing skills, this just works so much easier for me. So onward and upward. So here we are. We're in France. There's the enemy over you can see in red, and we're just going to see what happens here. Just a good looking airplane. This livery is from the U.S. Marine Corps, one of the militaries that it was developed for. So I want to rearm it, because right now all we're equipped with is guns. Grant you, they're pretty powerful guns, but we're going to try and change the load, if it will let me do that. So let's check the pylons. You can see, looking at the aircraft silhouette, the different pylon and weapons hanging locations. And when you click on those, it tells you what's available for that particular pylon. So I want to use a lot of rockets. Not going to use iron bombs today. I'm just going to see, and for that particular and you have to really check the numbers. Okay, so number 2, I can use rockets. 3 and 5, if I remember correctly, are primarily for bombs. No, I can't put on rocks, so okay. Like I said, first time ever in this aircraft, so I'm kind of playing around, just trying to figure things out here. So I'm going to carry 4 rocket pods, and if each one of them has 19 rockets, and these are 2.5s, and we'll carry a couple sidewinders just to be safe. The problem is that we don't have an early warning system in this aircraft to tell me if there's friends or foes around, that I'm aware of anyway at this point. This aircraft, are the early versions and so on, it's all hand flying. There's no autopilot. She flies, we're going to find out, but I think once I get her trimmed up, like if it's like most aircraft, you get it trimmed up, it's should be very easy to fly. She's not a heavy aircraft. Okay, so battery on, starter switch down, inverter on. Okay. Over here to the starter, turn it to run, and then we switch it up, and you can see on the right panel there, right front of the front panel, you'll see the RPM. So we have to put it to crank, and when it gets to 12% RPM, we introduce fuel. Okay, so we should have, let's see here, first time, here we go. You're going to hear me using that excuse a lot here. Okay, we've got a good engine start on our right engine. All right, let's get the left engine started. she's a little bit finicky about this. Okay, so we got the inverter on. We flip the switch here, and we go to crank, and it starts to spool up. And if you don't wait till it gets to 12%, or if you don't put the previous, because it doesn't matter if you start the left or the right engine, if you do not put the engine you've just started after it's running, and you put the start switch from crank to run, you can't start the second engine. And as you can see right here, the left engine is not starting. And I'm too dumb to figure out that I have forgotten to put the right engine to run. It's still sitting on crank. So there's no power to the left engine. It won't start. And I'm too dumb to figure that out. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out what the heck why isn't this working? What's wrong with this dumb sim? But this is not the sim's fault, it's all pilot. So we finally figured that out, got the engine started, so now we're ready to take off. The other thing is, this aircraft does not have a parking brake that works anywhere right now. So it'll roll if you're not careful and not ready. And it doesn't have nose steering. It's got a caster nose wheel, so it's all done with the wheel brakes, differential steering. So until the rudder, you get enough speed, the rudders can handle it. Takeoff speed is about 100 knots. So we rotate. Gear coming up. It's got a huge plexiglass cockpit. Visually, it's for a high wing aircraft, your vision is awesome. It's really, really good. So here we are. See smoke off in the distance there. And we weren't able to rearm, so we're not carrying any bombs, so I'm just playing around with weapon systems. Gonna turn the guns on. Fire. Okay, let's get our sight set up. Whoops, we just got hit with something. And we got smoke coming out of the engine. We got fire. Okay, let's see about feather. Whoops, Su-27. And then something else hit us, and the pilot is dead. We got hit. Su-27 did the initial damage, and then a SAM smacked us. So, with that, let's go to our next flight, and hopefully we've learned a little something. And as you can see, the cockpit is really dirty. I might have to get the ground crew to figure it, but we can land on dirt and everything. We're sitting in a grass field right now. We're next to the runways. So anyway, we've got one engine running. Okay, as you can see. Now we're going to take that engine. We got the left engine running. We just put it to run. So now let's go ahead and get the right engine started. Inverter on. Starter switch to run, and then to crank. And we'll start to see the RPM move up. And when it gets to 12%, we're going to introduce fuel. And that's it. There we go. And it should start up, no problem. And if you look at the mirror in the upper right portion of the cockpit, you can see the propellers of the aircraft, which really makes it kind of nice. And you can see that it's picked up speed, and we are also picking up the RPMs. So we have, we'll wait for it to settle here, but it looks like we're going to have a good engine start. So we learned something. We remembered to place it to run after we started the engine. Very good. Alright. So now that we've got two good engines running, see, you can teach old dogs new tricks. Even old farts like me. A lot of these switches, not all of them, but a lot of the switches and things work in this airplane, and I am very happy with that. It's been real fun to fly, and a learning experience. So both engines now are set to run. We're going to add RPM and mixture, which is they're combined. So you don't have a different prop RPM configuration like you do in other types of turboprops. This one is a lot like the MU2, where your mixture and prop RPM are basically combined. Just a great looking airplane. The one thing, and if you look at above it into the skyline up there, you'll see 4 aircraft heading towards it, the airfield. Those are Apache helicopters, and you'll see them very briefly sooner. But back to the Bronco. The Bronco, with its plexiglass cockpit, the one hazard is if something were to happen, if you were over water and the aircraft became unflyable, engine failures, whatever, there has never been a documented ditching of this aircraft that was successful. It's got great visibility, it's high wing, it's even got a very flat bottom of the fuselage, so you'd think you could actually ditch it fairly successfully. The problem is the canopy is so many pieces and so big to give you all that visibility, it will collapse right onto the pilot, and that's just bad in so many ways. The aircraft is equipped with an ejection seat, so there's no reason to have to ditch it, because it was very well equipped to be able to get out of the aircraft. So we're going to get down here and prepare to take off using our differential braking to steer it. And it works quite well. I've got mine hooked up to my Warthog HOTAS and added a couple of curves to the rudder pedals that I have that are older than most people watching this video. They're very old Thrustmaster rudder pedals. So let's get on the runway and get this old dog in the air. So we've got her lined up on the runway. We'll go ahead and hold the brakes here a little bit. Double check everything, make sure we're ready to go. Flaps are in takeoff position. Brakes are released. Let's get going. Gear up, and this time flaps up about the same time. And on this flight we're flying to Dunkirk, which isn't that far away. I'm gonna do some checking. I couldn't in this one I have my knee board set up on my HOTAS. But I wasn't able to get it to activate, so I'm going to have to do a little more reading, a little more checking. So I actually had to go to F10 on the old keyboard to bring up the map when I wanted to see where I was and to get my bearings. Just going to test fire the guns. Here we go. Dunkirk is at about 350 degrees, and we'll be heading out that way. So we test fired the guns, and I'm sure there's some poor farmer sitting in his den having a bit of a tea break or a coffee break. And it'll be on the 11 o'clock news how this poor farmer suddenly died in his favorite chair drinking tea or coffee from stray 20mm cannon rounds. Oh well, stuff happens. Anyway, so we've had a nice flight, no issues, and now we're going to land. Let's see how that works out. And this particular version I'm not using the Marine Corps livery, I'm using a Navy livery. So we're going to land this like an F-18. So hold on to your butts and let's see if we can get her done. Okay, landing gear coming down. Flaps are already down. We'll get full flaps here in just a second. Just a good looking little aircraft. And touchdown. Little bounce, not bad. Okay, and I thought I had my reverses set on my HOTAS, but you know what? They're not reversing. So, testing right there, it's not working. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply some heavy braking. She's a light aircraft, especially when she's not carrying pods and so on, so she stops real well. So we'll just slow down, go ahead and pull off here the Dunkirk runway. And she does steer just fine with differential steering. So dead ahead right there, we could run across the grass, but I'm not going to. This is an old World War II base, so we're gonna get over there and we're gonna park in front of that hangar. The other nice thing about this aircraft is it's got relatively stubby wings. They're not real long. So when I'm pulling up here, you see this brick building on the right, and then you got the hangar on the left. I can fit right here, no problem. And that's exactly what we are going to do. And I'm going to stop just before this road because I don't trust traffic in the sim. And there happens to be a car coming, so we're going to stop before he gets here. And hopefully he'll turn right. Yep, and he did. Oh, that's an old 40s car too. Very cool. Alright, we're going to shut down the engines here. Fuel off. And we'll just and battery off. There we go. Alright. So that was successful. Welcome to Dunkirk. right there you have it. That is the OV-10 Bronco, and it's a nice airplane. Can't wait to see what version 2 has to make some changes and so on. You know, further upgrade. Just a nice flying aircraft. I think it can be a real staple to DCS, doing the job that it can do, short landing and takeoffs. It's got a stout, as you saw by my landing, it's got a very stout landing gear, which is kind of ironic considering that the version I'm flying is a Navy livery. And you know how Navy pilots land the airplanes, slam them down, get her done, and it did. So I hope you enjoyed the 2 flights. First one could have gone a lot better, but it also at the same time showed some of the limitations of this aircraft. When you've got an Su-27 that I wasn't aware of that crawled up its tailpipe, shot it with guns, and then a SAM almost immediately after finishes off the pilot, and the aircraft's done. So, you know, it is what it is, and we keep going. But the aircraft itself worked very well. So I have nothing but praise for this aircraft and the people developing it for the sim. So until next time, this is Buggeteer64. Sure hope you enjoyed the flight. I had a lot of fun bringing it to you, as always. And as always, remember, do as I say, not as I do, but also remember, safe flying.